Okay, so this is a demonstration video about how to draw with graphite. First off, there are several different types of graphite. This right here is a regular pencil. You can buy these anywhere. You can buy them at the grocery store, you can get them at Hobby Lobby. You can get these anywhere. There are different types of graphite. I have a few right here. And they all have different hardness of graphite. Okay, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. Okay, each of these pencils, the value of the gray, or the shading, how light and dark the gray of the graphite is different. Okay. First, I have a 4H pencil. Let me find them. There he is. Okay. When a pencil, a graphite pencil, typically has an H added, an H as your pencil, that means that it's fairly light. Okay. So let me shade with this so you can kind of see what that looks like. And I'm pressing fairly hard, not so hard that I'm going to rip a hole in my paper, but hard enough where you can see it. Now this is 4H. My next pencil is a 2H. Okay, this one is going to be a little darker, but it's still going to be pretty light. I can see there's a slight difference between the two, and I'm using the same amount of pressure to draw with this pencil. Okay, my next pencil is just an H. Okay, let's see what this one looks like. This one, I think it looks pretty close to 2H. There's not very much difference. I think if you made more layers, it would be darker. Okay, and then the next pencil, the one that's sort of in the middle, is an HB, and this is just your regular pencil. So even if you had lead in a mechanical pencil, it would be the HB. So I'm going to show you with this so you can see the difference. Now I can tell, and I'm still using the same amount of pressure, that it's already darker. Now that's HB. Our next pencil, oops, I wrote that wrong. Fix that. Our next pencil is a 3B pencil. Now this doesn't have an H at all. Typically when it has a B, that means it's darker, the graphite is harder. So it'll come out darker when you shade. When you use dark areas in pictures, when you're using graphite. Okay, the next one is a 4B. That one looks pretty close to 3B. And our last one is this 6B, and it doesn't say on this pencil. I'm pretty sure it was sharpened off when they did the point. Your pencils, the hardest pencil that you could find in the store is called an ebony. 6B is pretty close to ebony. Ebony is almost black. These are all shades of gray, but the ebony will be almost black. Okay, and there's a very big jump between 4B and 6B. Okay, and the last type of pencil I'm going to show you, or graphite pencil, is a stick. This is it right here. It's kind of like a piece of charcoal, and it's good for shading big areas. So I'll show you what that looks like. And I'm just going to shade on the edge. Okay, and that's your stick. And actually, I think I might use this for the next part. Okay, so those are all the differences in graphite. Now I'm going to go over how to blend graphite. There are different ways, and it all depends on how dirty you want to get, because as you can see, my hands are already starting getting a little dirty, and that can happen. So I'm just going to use a pencil for this one, an HB pencil, and then I'll use the stick later. You can just shade light values to dark values by just changing the pressure in your hand and also going over your work over and over again so that you do not see the white of the paper. Eventually, as there's more layers, you're not going to see where you drew before. And that's just drawing regularly. The next way that you can blend is with a tool called a blending stump. It's this right here. Okay, this is basically like a rolled up piece of paper that's glued together to make this little stick. It's really helpful if you don't want to get your fingers dirty, if you want to blend with your fingers, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'll do this pretty quickly. Okay, and I'll take my blending stump, and I'm just going to draw with it, sort of, and I'll just do little tiny circles. A blending stump is good to use in very detailed areas, like it's small, you can't really get with it with your finger, and I can see already now it's blending together. So this is a blending stump. I like using these. Okay, and the last way I'm going to show you is probably one of the messiest ways, and you've probably done it before, and it's with a finger. You're just blending with your finger, and then also you could use a tissue, and I'll show you the difference between the two. Okay, so I got some down. So when you blend with your finger, you're just going to do little circles again, pressing down, and it'll eventually, if you keep going forever and ever, you will not see the pencil lines anymore, and it'll be one value. But this makes you kind of dirty. My finger is already a little shiny. I don't know if you can see that. Another way to do this is you could just use a tissue paper to kind of cover your finger if you don't want to get super messy. And then you're just doing with circles on the graphite. This one I think works better, but it sort of erases the graphite a little bit too. So that's blending. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to make a value scale. I already have one drawn up right here, but I'm just going to show you how you can shade it using several different pencils. So I'm going to use a 6B pencil, a regular HB pencil, and maybe a 2H pencil, no, 4H pencil. So on a value scale, you usually have a number of boxes. You could technically do a value scale with just 2, but it wouldn't be very helpful. A value scale is supposed to help you compare values in a picture so you can better match them. You'll start off with the first square, and this will be your lightest value. You could either leave it white because your paper is white and not draw anything in it, or you could very lightly draw a shade in that box. I'm just going to leave it light. Now what I do next is go to the very end and make my darkest value. So I'm going to grab my 6B pencil and I'm going to shade because it's going to be the darkest. Okay, that's probably good enough. Okay, and now I'm going to do the next darkest value, which would be your box number 5. It needs to be a little lighter than 6, but it cannot be darker than 6. So I'm just using a regular HB pencil, and then I might very lightly go over it with my 6B. And I'm not really pressing down a whole bunch. You could also go in with a blending stump and blend these if you really wanted to. I'm not going to be worried about that. Okay, and I'm going to go to box number 4. And 4 needs to be lighter than 5. There's 4. Okay, and then I'm going to go to 3. And now I'm going to go use the 4H pencil just to start with because it'll be lighter. Now I think this is actually pretty good. I'm not going to go over that with HB. And then I'm going to work on my last box, which is number 2. And this is going to be really, really light. Okay, now when I look at my value scale, I can tell that 4, 5, and 6 are pretty good, but 1, 2, and 3 need work. You want to have a gradual increase of value. One tool that you could use is a kneaded eraser, and that's what I'm holding in my hand right here. This isn't like your normal eraser like this. It kind of looks like a piece of clay, but it's actually made of rubber, and that's what most erasers are made of. They must put some sort of chemical or treat it somehow so it's bendable like this and you can pull it apart. These erasers are good because you could shape it to whatever shape you want. So I'm going to make mine into a little tip, like a little tiny pencil. But they also don't erase everything like a normal eraser does. So you can just take off part of the graphite, and then that works pretty well. So the way I use these is I don't just drag across. I kind of do like little taps on your paper with it. I just do it this way so I don't take off a ton of graphite when I don't want it. Using this tool will be good for parts of your picture where it's lighter and you didn't draw light enough. And then I don't know, I think I'm going to go over just with my finger to rub it, make it a little more smoother. Okay, and so there's your value scale. So materials that you could use for drawing with graphite is just a regular pencil, pencils of different hardness. You could use a regular eraser. You can use a kneaded eraser. You can use a blending stump or a tissue. These will all be available for you when you draw with graphite. So that's what you learned from this video. Thank you.